This video will walk you through the components in the kit that Pedicomp sent you for your Component 3 study, and will explain to you how to assemble the kit so that you can use it. The first step is to unpack the kit, as you can see we have done here, somewhere on a table separate from the one that you're actually going to set it up for your use, but nearby so that you can set it up from the unpacking table. You'll find you'll need to stop this video as we progress to give you time to follow each step. In the kit, you should find this manifest of what has been sent to you, completed with the quantity of each item. You may not have received all of the items listed there, depending on what we have found you may or may not need. The first thing we're going to do is plug in two of the robots, Sphero robot and the Dash robot, so that they're fully charged when you get to use them. The Bebot robot is running off internal batteries, and the Edison does not need charging. It also, when you use it, takes inserted batteries. In your kit, there is a small bag of micro USB. Take the yellow, the orange and the blue cables, and we'll use those to charge the two robots. And simply plug them in. Notice that the blue cables. Notice that the blue cable fits into the cradle of the Sphero. The Sphero itself does not have, it's completely sealed and it does not have anywhere to plug in. And then you put the Sphero on the cradle, and if the power is flowing, it will detect that there is power, the light will go on, and it will charge through induction charging. With the Dash, when you plug it in, the Dash will turn itself on and make a few cute little noises, and you can turn it off by pressing the off button, which is on the side of the Dash, more or less placed in the same position as the input, as the USB input button. This shows where the on-off button is on the Dash, and if you press it once, it'll turn itself off whilst it's charging. We'll now set up the laptop and associated equipment. This shows the setup that you're aiming at, and I'll explain why you have this fairly full setup with lots of wires. The first thing we're going to do is go through the simple task of setting up the computer. Your computer may not look like this one on the screen. We use different types of computers and different models. And so your power supply that you received with your computer might look different like this, but it will be labeled in the bag laptop power supply, and simply, as you normally would do, open the laptop and plug it into a power supply. You'll notice that we have supplied you with extension cables and a large block of sockets on a power board adapter, so that you can use those to set up. I'll now run through all of the other components and identify what they are. So you'll find here is an external webcam, and that is going to sit on top of your additional monitor that we sent you. In the top right hand corner, you can see the copper pipe, and you can't see this, but on yours you have a magnet attached to the outside and a magnet attached to the inside, and you'll just want to put that aside until we deal with magnetism in Component 3. You'll have a bag of mice. You may have two bags of mice, depending on how many teachers there are. So this is an example of 4 mice. You'll find that there are keyboards enclosed, and there are as many keyboards as there are teachers. So you actually will have 1 mouse and 1 keyboard per teacher. This is a USB hub. What it does is that it allows the computer to attach more devices than you have USB sockets. And we're actually going to be attaching all of the mice and all of the keyboards to the one laptop. And of course, there aren't sufficient USB sockets on the laptop to do that. You may have only this one, or you may have the second one as well, depending on how many teachers there are sharing a unit. The USB adapter only has 7 sockets, and if there are 4 teachers, you're going to be requiring 8 sockets. So you'll have an additional USB hub. The second USB hub, if you have one, will have power available to it. And the reason why we do that is that we don't want to overload the laptop keyboards and mice. Keyboards and mice draw very little power. We don't want to overload the laptop. And so if we're putting in more than a certain number, we add a power supply to the USB hub so that it's providing its own power and not drawing power from the laptop. Here is a USB extension cable, and it simply allows you to plug a USB device into one end and plug the other end into computer, and allows you to longer distance for that USB device. And it's specifically used with the external webcam, so that if you need to show us something that you're doing with that external webcam, you can actually take it off its the place where it'll be sitting on top of the external monitor and move it around to show us what you're doing or what the problem might be. Here are the USB cables that you saw before, and you'll see there's an extra one there, and that is in case you need to use the modem, or if you have any other specific need for a USB cable. If you have a large group, there may be more of these because you may need more for more devices. We've also provided you with USB chargers. This is the emergency broadband modem. This is the one item you hopefully will not use, but it's there in case for some reason your Wi-Fi fails on the day of the course. Your Wi-Fi is not working. That would be very distressing for you and for us. And so in case of that happening, we've provided you with one of our broadband modems with credit on it, and you turn that on and you would hook into that, and we would still be able to proceed with the course. But hopefully you won't be needing that. You also have included a packet or more than one packet of AAA batteries, and they are for use with the Edison. The Edison uses the AAA batteries, and we have provided them for your use. We're going to start setting up the keyboards and the mice, and to do that we're going to need these USB hubs. If you only have 3 teachers in your group, you'll only need 1 USB hub, otherwise you'll need 2. So locate this USB hub. There are 2 USB hubs, one with power, the other without power. So let's start off by taking the USB hub without the power supply. So we're going to start with the USB hub that doesn't have the power supply. So locate that one. It's just a hub and a cable. And we'll start by connecting the mice. And it's fairly simple. We're going to do this for the mice and the keyboards. So just take the USB connector from a mouse and slot it into one of the USB sockets, and then do that for all of the mice, going socket by socket by socket. You'll see there are sockets on the one side and then sockets on the other side. There's also a different kind of socket called an USB-A socket, and a little plug for the power supply, but this one we're not using the power supply. So go ahead and do that for the keyboards as well as the mice. Now, what will happen if you have more than 3 teachers is that you will have some, let's see, you've got 8 devices. If you've got 4 teachers and there are only 7 slots, so you're going to need to daisy chain. And let's have a look at how you do that. You use this cable. This cable actually is the one you use to plug from the USB hub into the computer, or from the USB hub to the other USB hub. So locate the cable, and if you only have 3 teachers, then you can skip this part because you're not going to need to daisy chain, and you can go directly to the part where you plug the one end of the cable into the USB hub and the other end just plugs into a USB socket on the computer. That's what the USB-A plug end and the USB-A socket looks like. And it simply plugs in like that. This I've created to show you how you daisy chain. And so This one over here is the one that you have just filled. And so you have to imagine that it's full now of, it's all of the sockets are full. And you take the USB-A cable and you plug that end into here. But this end now, instead of plugging into the computer, you plug into any one of these vacant USB slots on the second USB hub, because the USB hub, just that second USB hub, then just treats this as some other USB input, and the hubs between them figure out how to make all of the different devices work. So that is going into your first one that you've just filled. This one is going to the second one that you're about to put your overflow of USB sockets in. The second one you do connect the power supply to, because even though mice and keyboards occupy very little power, and it's probably safe just not to use it, but in this case it's maybe better. And you'll notice the power supply plugs into the other end of this. We can't see it from this view, but it actually looks like this, and the power supply plugs into that. You plug the USB-A socket into the A socket on this side, which looks exactly like that, and this end plugs into your computer socket. Now, if you didn't need the second one, if you only had 3 teachers, then of course you'd just be using this one, and you'd plug this into there, and this would plug directly into your computer USB. And if you have daisy chained, this is what you're going to end up with. I'll show you why we're setting it up this way when we get into actually doing the course. And if this was a permanent fixture, you'd find a way to organize the cables quite a lot better. And so you can see here, this one is hub number 1, fully populated. Its USB-A socket is actually going all the way through here and going into a socket on the second one. And the second one, which has this power, is actually going to the second one. Its connector is going off to the laptop. That's what you've created, but you won't have the monitor there yet, because that's what we're going to do next, set up the additional monitor. And as you can see, the purpose of the monitor is so that a group of 4 teachers can all see what is happening and work simultaneously, but they don't need to crowd around the one laptop screen, which makes it very difficult to see what is going on. Let's go and set up the monitor. And you've received this monitor box, and if you open the monitor box, inside the top looks like this. Now over here are different types of cables. So what you're going to be using is the HDMI cable. Underneath this part of the carton is the actual monitor itself. But take these components out: the connecting video cable, the power supply, the base for the monitor, and the monitor stand support. And the first thing we'll do is put together the monitor stand support. What happens is the pylon just slides and clicks into the base. You'll see if you push it from that position, it slides and clicks in. But you then turn the unit upside down, because the pylon is not actually held securely, and you fasten that screw which fastens the pylon into the base. And you just do the reverse when you dismantle it. Taking the top piece of styrofoam off the monitor itself is underneath, and lift it out, and you can see it has a socket that fits over the pylon on the monitor base, and you just slide it on and it clicks into place. To take it off, you simply apply pulling pressure whilst gently moving this pylon side to side. And don't be worried, you won't break it. Just apply enough pulling pressure and gentle motion, and it pops out of the socket. Now we're going to put the power supply in. So you'll see the power supply consists of 2 portions, and you of course can work out how to do this. You simply put them together and plug the power end into the power socket on the monitor. The cable you're going to use with the laptop we supplied you is an HDMI cable. And so take the HDMI cable and plug the one end into the monitor and the other end into the computer. The little button on the back right-hand side of the monitor is the power on/off button. And now you have all three components plugged in: the power supply for the laptop and the power supply for the monitor. And if you're using two USB hubs, then you've got the power supply for the second USB hub. Now what we're going to do is attach the external USB webcam. That external USB webcam comes with a not very long cable, and so we're going to attach it via this USB extension cable. So locate the USB extension cable. Yours may or may not look exactly like that. And locate the external webcam and undo the cable of the external webcam and plug the end of the cable of the external webcam into the USB extension cable socket. And then take this end and of course plug it into a USB socket on the computer. Don't plug it into the USB hub. It needs to be plugged directly into the computer. So there you'll see, and now it's plugged into the computer. And so you're using only two of the USB sockets on the laptop. The webcam has a fold-out support at its back, and you fold it out and use that to hang it on the top of the monitor, the external monitor. And that then allows you can actually, when we're doing the session, you can move that to show me what is happening on the ground, or you can use it to speak to me, because it has an inbuilt speaker. What happens if you're speaking from across the classroom? It's hard for me to hear what you're saying. And so what you can do is, I will show you at the time how you select which of the cameras you wish to be using at any one time, because I'll be able to see you from my end through your webcam, whichever webcam you've chosen, and we can communicate that way. And if you come up close to this one, if you've got this one selected, come close to this one and its microphone will pick your voice up perfectly. Otherwise, if you've got the USB camera in the laptop working, then if you want to speak to me, you need to come close to the laptop. not right nose to laptop, but close enough for me to hear you. In the future, we're going to actually supply a Bluetooth microphone that you can carry around with you and talk to me using that microphone. And so now you have completed your setup of the equipment ready to be used. You may also have found a mini iPad in your kit. As far as I'm aware, all primary schools, whether they be Department of Education or private, have a number of iPads. And the reason why you may have an iPad in your kit is if we have discussed with you the type of iPad you have and have found that you only have the older iPads, those will not run the Dash software and they won't run the Sphero software. An Android tablet is fine, but most primary schools have chosen iPads. How do you know whether you've got an older one or not? Well, the older iPads have this older connector. And as far as I'm aware, if you have this older type of iPad connector, it's unlikely that your iPad is new enough to run the software. The newer iPads have this kind of connector, which is called a Lightning connector. And as far as I'm aware, if your iPad uses a Lightning connector, then it is new enough to run the apps. The final part that we need to cover is how do you connect the laptop that we have provided into our conferencing and virtual classroom system. And what you need to do is, on our laptop, open Chrome. And when you have Chrome open, you'll see that we have this link here. And when you click on that, it will automatically launch you into the meeting. So if we've scheduled a time for the start of component 3, we'll make sure that we've already opened the meeting before that. And then when you click on that, it should automatically hook you in to our meeting, and you'll be able to see us and we'll be able to see you. But the other thing you need to do is you need to also launch your interactive whiteboard or your projector computer, whichever computer is driving your projector. That also needs to be joined into the meeting separately, because that's how you're going to be able to see what we're demonstrating to you. You can't use the one computer both to see what we're demonstrating and to do your work, of course. That would not be possible. So you're going to be working on our laptop, but you'll be watching the demonstration on your projector. And how do you do that? Well, actually, all you're going to do is enter that exact link into your browser. Now, on that side, it doesn't have to be Chrome. It's just that we've set it up in Chrome on ours, so you need to do it through Chrome. But if you don't have Chrome or you have a preferred browser, it'll work in whatever browser you use, because in fact, we're not communicating through the browser. We just use the browser to kick off the little program, and then the program does the work. How you get your interactive whiteboard laptop connected, you have to type exactly that into the browser you're using, press enter. Now, it's important that someone with administrator privileges does this, because what it does is it actually starts up a little program, and your computer is unlikely to let you run programs it is not familiar with, unless that is your school computer, unless you have administrator privileges. So you do need to run it, I'm pretty sure, with administrative privileges, and then that too will just automatically link you in to our system. The slide is pointing out that if your Wi-Fi fails, you'll be able to start up our little emergency Wi-Fi, and if you look at the display, it will show you what the name of that Wi-Fi connection is, and you'll be able to find it by looking at your available Wi-Fi, and it will tell you what the password is, which on all of our broadband modems is simply the word password. So you can see this one, it scrolls past, and if you gave it a few moments to scroll past, you'd see that this one's called Petacomp-11-5G. And if it's necessary to start that up, there's some information on how to do it. You can see here's the little broadband modem, and this button over here that I'm pointing to is the one that you press for about 3 or 4 seconds, and that will start up the little modem. It has quite a lot of power, and it'll probably last all of the session. But just to be safe, on the back of it is a micro USB slot, and you can plug a micro USB cable into that, and the other end into a USB charger, and you'll be able to continue with the course. They're quite powerful when there aren't too many. Don't try and connect more than 5 at a time. So if you've got your own iPads that you're using, there's a limit to how many it will work with before it starts to seriously degrade. But it will allow you to collect 3 or 4 or 5 of devices, which would be, I guess, your laptop that is driving your interactive whiteboard so that you can see us, the laptop that we've supplied you with, so that you can do the work, and then perhaps a couple of iPads, up to 3 iPads for you to use when you're doing the work with the Sphero and the Dash. So that is everything you need to know to be able to connect in with us. If you've had any problems with this, please give us a call and we'll help you through it. There is one other thing that I would ask you to watch. It's a very brief introduction on how to use the interface of the software that we use for the video conferencing. So if you have a look at that, it'll give you some idea of how to manage it, and we'll be able to help you with anything else you need at the time. Thanks.
Once in the Zoom meeting, there are a range of controls that can be used. Simply select the microphone icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom meeting window to mute and unmute yourself. The same can be done with video by selecting the video camera icon. You can select Invite to invite others to the Zoom meeting through email. You can see other participants by selecting the Participants icon. You can share content by selecting Share Screen, and you can chat with others by selecting Chat. You can also start recording by selecting the Record button. If you are the host of the Zoom meeting, you will have additional controls under Participants. By selecting More, you can allow a user to record, rename them, or even remove them from the Zoom meeting. You will also be able to mute and unmute all participants within the Zoom meeting.